For this year's general election, registered voters need to watch for their ballots arriving by mail in mid-October.
Following the instructions, seal your ballot in the envelope provided and be sure to sign the back.
Envelopes without your signature will not be accepted.
Look for your free elections guide in the newspaper or at these locations statewide.
There are no polling places.
So be sure to mail your ballot by October 27th. Hawaii votes by mail.
And aloha, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday on Spotlight Hawaii. I'm Yenj Denise, joined by Ryan Kalei-Suji. And a reminder, of course, from our sponsor, the Office of Elections, that Hawaii does vote by mail. And by now, you've likely received your ballot. Remember, there are ways to do same-day registration or to vote in person. All that information is on the Office of Elections website.
That's right, and we encourage you to visit the website to find out more information about how you can make sure that you can get your vote in on time. We'll have more information about that as the weeks come, as we get closer to that election. But today, we're continuing to focus our attention on some of the industries that have been impacted, of course, by the latest restrictions being placed because of COVID-19, specifically talking about restaurants and the impact that it has had on many of the local businesses here in our community. Joining us now is Greg Maples. He's the chair of the Hawaii Restaurant Association. He's also the director of food service at the Polynesian Culture Center. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning. We want to first start off by talking specifically about the restaurants, of course. And what are you hearing from those within the association? How are they faring during this current state in which we find ourselves with these latest round of restrictions, especially on the island of Oahu?
Well, first, thanks for letting me be on, and I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to talk about our great restaurants. So, of course, this has been devastating, completely devastating to our restaurants. The first shutdown, I think everybody was on board. We need to do this. We thought it was going to be a short amount of time. We had our PPP money come in. That seemed to help a lot of people. But as time went on, it was very evident that this was going to be catastrophic to a lot of restaurants. One of the things I've been saying from the very beginning is that if this continued, we would see probably around 40% of all restaurants close, and that's on all the islands, by the end of the year. And I think while the numbers that's been reported of restaurants that have closed may not be that high, I think we don't have a good handle on what is actually closed and not closed, but I think we're heading in that direction. So we were really suffering. The PPP was only for a short amount of time. It was only meant to last a few months, had very specific guidelines, and then the lockdown or the shutdown continued. We didn't have tourism open on the island. We were under mandates and guidelines and restrictions. Some of those restrictions are tough to live by if you're a restaurant. 50% capacity in your dining rooms. And what that did automatically is eliminate some restaurants from ever being able to open their dining room because they're just too small and it doesn't work with the social distancing and the things that we have to do. And so that's why you've seen a lot of restaurants still not open their dining room because we're at the 50% capacity. In the beginning, we had the groups of 10 people per table. And now under the new tier system, we have 5 people at a table, and those 5 have to be from the same household. So those are tighter and tighter restrictions. And then what happened is with the PPP money running out, people started to say, now what? We waited for a second stimulus. The feds have not sent anything. We're very grateful for the mayor who put the $75 million out for restaurants to receive reimbursement. The state has done some things as well, but those are very, and not that I'm not grateful. We are very grateful, but they're very small compared to the need out there. I think one of our surveys talked about restaurants right now. 65% of them say if they continue the way they are right now, between now and 6 months, they will close. Let that sink in. 65%. That's huge.
And let's talk about that 65%. Who is most at risk? What types of restaurants are the most vulnerable?
So I love this question because it speaks to the people that I worry the most about. Obviously, you have chain restaurants that are still suffering. Let's make no mistake about it. They're still suffering. but they have a little bit more help. Maybe a McDonald's or a Wendy's or a Jack in the Box. They have a little bit more help because they have franchisors that are there to help them. But the ones that are really affected are going to be our mom and pop restaurants, our small restaurants, our single unit ones. And these are the ones that carry the culture of Hawaii. These are the ones that we go to when, you and I eat every day at. It's not the chains. And so when you look at that, and that's why we've seen some of the mom and pop places close. And those are the ones I worry about the most. And I think it's going to be very impactful for them. Now, a lot of restaurants have been able to pivot to takeout. And we're learning a lot. We've learned a lot about how to do that and how to do it better. But takeout can only provide so much when you're a restaurant in Waikiki, right? If you're a Duke's, how do you do takeout in a significant way to help you pay your bills? You can't. And so that's why right now we still have a lot of restaurants that have just closed and said we're not going to open until things open back up. So we're very grateful that we are going to be open up tomorrow for tourism. At least it's a beginning, right?
One of the other things that the state has announced is this sort of Hawaii restaurant card that they're going to be handing out to those who have qualified for unemployment. It's this $500 credit card, so to speak, that people can use at Hawaii restaurants. How effective do you think that will be in helping to create some more business for these restaurants?
This is such an incredible idea. And I just can't tip my hat enough to all the folks that came up with this. Sherry, Denise, and those folks that work in literally on the state level. And we're just so grateful for it. This is a huge deal. So anybody who's been on unemployment and today, by the way, at 2:00, the governor will be at a press conference I'll be at where he'll make an announcement and more details will come. But everybody who has, if you've been on unemployment in the month of September, you're going to receive in the mail this $500 MasterCard debit card. And it's keyed so that you can use it at any restaurant, any bakery, and you can use it for catering. And that $500 equates to $75 million. So the card's only good through December 15th. So what we're going to do is inject $75 million in basically 60 days into the restaurant world. This is going to be huge. With 3,600 restaurants, pre-COVID, that's about $11,000 per restaurant. So we know that some have closed. We know some that aren't open. So every restaurant has the opportunity, if everybody did it evenly, to get about $15,000 in sales. We know that that's not going to be the case, right? We know that there will be some restaurants that'll receive a lot more business, but it's huge. This is really great. And we're very, very, very grateful for this opportunity.
What are your thoughts on the tiered system and how it's working right now? Does the association believe this is too restrictive for restaurants? I know that the mayor said that he actually went out on a limb and went against the recommendations of some public health officials who had been advocating for full closures of the restaurants in Tier 1. But he said that he had made some exceptions and kind of went in the direction of business. But what are your thoughts on that tiered system as it stands?
So we were lucky enough to be at the table when the mayor put the tiered system together. And I mean that there was, after he had put it together, he let certain people review it and give feedback to it. I happened to be one of those folks for the HRA that got to see that and was able to give the mayor some feedback. And I think that was probably what helped him understand and make that decision to override that. But the tiered system, so look, our numbers are good, right? So something's working. Okay, so success, performance is the equalizer. So we're seeing some success. We didn't get everything we wanted. I think it is a little restrictive. And this is just one example. I think the 5 people from the same household is a little restrictive. If I work with somebody in my office and I have this kind of office bubble and I want to go somewhere and eat at a table in a booth with somebody from my office, I can't do that. That hurts restaurants because, as you know, restaurants don't always just feed families. They feed individuals, they feed deuces that come out and all of those things. So we look forward to that loosening up. I don't know that it makes any sense that I can sit with my family and eat at a booth together, but I can't go to the movies and eat popcorn with them. That doesn't seem to jive to me. And so I think there's some things to work out. But I will say this, having been a part of these meetings, I can tell you, I think the mayor's heart's in the right place. He wants to do the right thing. And whether you agree with all the details or not, I get it. But I think he wants to do it. One of the things he said that was very impressive to me, and I've said this before on various interviews, is one of the things he said is, between now and the time he leaves office, he wants to do everything possible to not have any reason for a shutdown, in the next 3 months. That's the last thing he wants. And so they're kind of slow boating the opening for that reason. Now, one of the concerns we do have is tomorrow we open for tourism. Family of 6 comes to Hawaii. They can't eat at the same table at a restaurant. Maybe when we go into phase 2 or tier 2 next week, we can see some of that open up a little bit. The other thing is, I don't love the idea of somebody sitting at a booth having a meal and then, in between eating, they have to put their mask on. If this is my family, I eat at home without the mask on. So I think that might be a little too much, but understand that the mayor let the restaurants open and the health department gave that caveat that we needed to have that, along with the contact tracing.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, because that has just been another added layer of work, so to speak, that these restaurants are now having to take on in making sure that they collect all this data in terms of those who are sitting at the table, the contact information for all these individuals. What have you heard from the restaurants in terms of response? How are they collecting that data, and where does that essentially go?
So the restaurants collect it in various forms. Some do it on iPads, some do it on just, a piece of paper, a format, a template, if you will. We're required to keep it for 28 days. And after 28 days, we destroy it. Truth is, we don't want that kind of information in our hands, right? We want to get rid of that information. But we're required to hold on to it for 28 days for contact tracing purposes. Now, the feedback we're getting is it's a bit of a pain, as you can imagine. But what we are finding is that the people of Hawaii, they're just so wonderful. They understand that it's not the restaurant's fault that they have to give this information. They know that this is a mandate. And so by and far, the reaction is they understand and they give us the information. There are restaurants and on occasions where we have guests who do not want to give their information, and we have to deal with those individuals. But I think that's the exception, and I think it's rare that we have somebody who's really, adamant. Typically, if you've made the decision to go out to a restaurant, you understand you're going to give your contact tracing information, you're going to wear a mask, and you're going to abide by the mandate rules. I think most people get that. But it's certainly an added layer of things that we have to do to try to stay open.
We like to bring in the audience as much as we can. And Lavella has a comment. Oh, no, not this one. She had many comments, but here she says, restaurants should be outdoors. Of course, in an ideal world, given the weather that we have here in Hawaii, we would love for more restaurants to be outdoors. And there were some concessions made early on to allow more sidewalk dining and whatnot. What have you seen with that? Have restaurants been able to make that pivot, or is that too difficult given the restrictions that are in place for being out on the sidewalk?
One of the things I know, having been in this business for so long, is that restaurant owners and operators is some of the most wonderful people. And these folks know how to pivot, and they know how to make things work in order to make their business survive. And so those restaurants that could do outside dining have done it and done a really great job. We've seen some pictures of folks who have thrown up some tents in parking lots and put tables outside, and they've just basically set up an outside lanai. And I would agree, obviously, with COVID and the things that we know about COVID, having outside dining is better than inside. We just know that. I'm not sure the science is perfect on that. I'm not sure that we would agree on the science, But I think overall we can agree that being outside would probably be better than being inside. So I think that the mayor and the mayors overall have done a great job allowing restaurants to pivot to do that when they want to. There are some restaurants that just don't have that opportunity, right? Just because of where they're located, they don't have that opportunity. And it's just one more thing that causes it to be tough to do business during COVID for restaurants.
We want to sort of switch gears just a little. We also know that you work specifically with PCC, and know that we were talking about this earlier, that you were saying that you folks will likely be shut down until January of 2021. How is this sort of, this pandemic as a whole impacted something like the Polynesian Cultural Center, which has become a tourist attraction in and of itself? And how are you folks sort of adjusting post-pandemic and as the vaccine becomes available to be able to continue to provide the service and entertainment that you folks have had, you guys have had done in the past?
Well, as you can imagine, it's devastating. The Polynesian Cultural Center closed on March 16th, and we have not been open since. And right now we're looking at opening around January 4th. It might be a little bit later than that. That's kind of what we've been talking about. There's a small chance we could open sooner. It just depends on how the tourism goes, and as we see the numbers go up. But as far as the PCC goes, it's been absolutely devastating. One of the blessings that came to us is that for the last 5 years, we've had some of our best years ever when it came to profitability. So we were able to save a whole lot of money. Our president and CEO, Alfred Grace, who is just an incredible leader and an incredible man, had really done a great job positioning the PCC to not only increase their sales, but increase their profitability. And that allowed us to be able to use that money since our closure. And so we've really been living off savings. But what we've had to do, obviously, is we've had to restructure. We eliminated 70 full-time jobs. We furloughed hundreds and hundreds of people. We employ 900 plus students from BYU Hawaii. Those folks, right now we only have 115 total students working at PCC, and that's helping us do things like landscaping and cleaning and custodial work. And I'm proud to say that for those of us who have been able to stay at the PCC and continue, we all have taken on new job responsibilities. As the Director of Restaurant Services, my division covers a whole lot of food from one end to the other of the PCC. What's interesting is part of my week now, I spend time actually landscaping the landscape in my division's area. So you could very well easily see me, President Grace, and others of the executive team here out manning a mower or a weed eater. And it's really just to do whatever we can to keep ourselves in a position to open. And we are very confident that Hawaii is going to bounce back. It may take some time, and PCC is going to be here for a very long time. Yesterday we celebrated our 57th anniversary. And so we've been around 57 years. We're confident we're going to make it through this, and we'll be around for another 57 years.
Well, we hope so. And one of the things that so many people enjoy at a venue like PCC or a lot of our hotels are these big luau's and big buffets. How do you think that, how do we actually do something like that? What happens to eating experiences like that in a COVID situation? How do we do that?
Yeah, great question. So obviously at PCC, other than Pounder's Restaurant and our concessions in the villages, everything else is a buffet, right? That's what we're known for. We have a luau buffet. We have our island buffet. We have prime dining. We have, everything's a buffet. So what do you do in COVID? Well, what we do know is that the mandate as of right now says that you can't have a buffet as defined by the old way. So recently I made a trip to Las Vegas to see what they were doing there, because they're kind of the experts on buffet, I would say, in the United States, maybe even the world. And there were only 2 buffets open in Vegas, believe it or not, only 2. One was the Wynn and one was South Point. And so my wife and I, we visited, and what we found is that South Point, they did it probably exactly what we would do here at the PCC. It was set up just like a normal buffet with all the PPE and, you know, all the things that they need, all the gloves and the masks and all of that. But instead of serving yourself, it was cafeteria style. People would serve you, and that it was really smooth. And I didn't feel like I got cheated or it was a different experience. And I met with the chefs, the executive chefs there, and they told me that the only thing that's holding them back are tourists coming to Vegas, but that the way the buffets are running really smooth. Now, the second one was the Wynn. Now, the Wynn they took a different approach. You sat at a table, and then they brought you a menu of everything on the buffet, and you just choose off that menu what you want, and then they bring it to you. So it was more of a table service. And that was okay. You know, I think when I get to a buffet, I like to walk around. I like to, you know, get the lay of the land and see. Now the Wynn, you know, the Wynn's the Wynn. The quality of food there was incredible. But probably 2 weeks after we returned from Vegas, they closed that buffet because that model was not working. And so when the PCC opens, depending on what the guidelines and the mandates are, which a little plug, I want to put a plug for not only the city, the state, and our health department, but they've done a great job working with the Hawaii Restaurant Association in creating those guidelines. They've been really great partners with us. So I think here at the PCC, we'll probably end up with the South Point model, unless the guidelines say different. And we'll end up with, right now, if we open right now, we could have 50% capacity. So if we could have fit, 500 people in luau before, obviously it'll be restricted to 250 with 6 feet of social distancing and all the other protections that are necessary.
Aside from this $500 restaurant card that will be handed out to those who have qualified for unemployment, some of these restaurant owners that we have spoken to in the past say that is definitely going to help, but they do need more help. And a lot of it comes into the aid of rate abatement, just rental, being able to pay their leases and being able to be supported and get some sort of support from the state or county through those types of services. Is that something that you are hearing? Is that something that the association is advocating for, is for some sort of rent relief or tenant relief so that these restaurants can sort of lower the overhead costs that they're having to encounter during this time?
Yeah, you're exactly right. So the cost of rent obviously is the number one cost, and it looms really heavy on our restaurant owners and operators. Some of them haven't been able to pay rent since March, and we talked to those folks. So there's been a couple of programs that the state and the city have put out for help, and that has been, we've been very grateful for that. Ryan Tanaka has been working on a commercial rent relief program, and we're actually continuing to have conversations. We went into a meeting with the governor and asked for $150 million. Unfortunately, by the time we got to the governor, the CARES money had already been allocated and there was no money left. And so we're looking at trying to get the program in place so when the second stimulus comes, we can simply turnkey that program on, and that would allow help for the rent. And what Ryan's program does is allows the money to go to the landlord to pay property taxes, and there's a algorithm and formula that's based on, and it doesn't just go to the tenant and then the tenant does something with it. It goes to the landlord, because a lot of our I was on a call the other day with somebody, and they're not only restaurant owners, but they also are landlords, right? So some of our restaurant operators also own things, and they're landlords, and so they understand both sides, and they're struggling. There's been no relief from the banks. Now, I don't want to make it sound like banks are bad people, but we've had a lot of great local people who own and operate who have done all they can to try to help. But it's just certainly not enough. It's just not it's the thing that worries the operators more than anything. Sales number one, because sales cure all ills, but it's the debt that hangs over their head.
Well, and when we started out this conversation, you had said that if things don't turn around in the next 6 months, we could see as many as 60%, as much as 60% of our restaurants close. What is going to be, what's going to make the difference here? Do you think that tourism is the answer? What are you hoping for? I mean, obviously, some of those restaurants will close for good, but 60%, as you said, I mean, that is just an incredible number to think about.
Yeah, what makes that number so scary is that came directly from a survey to restaurant owners and operators. It wasn't anything that it was just directly from them. So that makes it it's a very scary number. So I think we're going to have to loosen the tiers up. I think we're going to have to learn to live with COVID. And I also think the thing that's going to really release the whole world back is going to be a vaccine. And I hate saying that because not everybody's going to take the vaccine. But I think that once a vaccine comes, I think we're going to see things change a little bit. But we need tourism. And I want to talk about something real quick here. Restaurant owners and operators are not anti-diversification of the economy, because there's a lot of people that say now's the time to diversify the economy. To me, it's the genius of the and. We can have tourism and diversify our economy. It's not one or the other. And that's a lot of times in politics, people, they position it that way. And that's really not correct, because we are in no position as a state to not have tourism. Okay. We've seen the effects of it, and we need tourism, and we need it in a big way. But we agree that we can do other things to diversify, but it can't be one or the other. That's an important distinction that needs to be made.
I'm sorry, my mic was. It's a thing that I think it's the most common word that we hear in this time.
Yeah.
Your mic is muted. Our time is wrapping up, but we did want to allow you an opportunity to provide some final thoughts, maybe a message for those out there who are looking to get out there and use that restaurant card when it comes in, and of course support local restaurants. But what is sort of your final message here as we end our time with you today?
First, of gratitude for you taking the time to allow us to tell our story, and for so many people who have worked so hard on the restaurant's behalf. I want to say this. It's important that people understand that restaurant owners and operators have been dealing with food safety and germs and all of those things for decades. We know how to handle food safety. You can rest assured that you can come to your favorite restaurant. You're going to be taken care of. Bring your card, your Hawaii restaurant card, or just bring your everyday debit card. But I want people to feel comfortable coming to a restaurant. I talk to a lot of people who say, yeah, I'm just not ready yet. I want you to know that the restaurant owners and operators are doing the very best job that they can out there. Remember that we have the strictest guidelines that were written for COVID that restaurants have to follow. And we have the toughest mechanism in place for compliance, which is the placard system. You don't have that in any other business. So we are partners with the Department of Health. I just want the message to be, come back, visit us. We're ready.
Okay, we'll end on that note. Greg Maples from the Hawaii Restaurant Association and the Polynesian Cultural Center, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys so much.
Well, Ryan, interesting to hear from Greg and that message here for all of the viewers to please come back and to support your local restaurants. The idea that we could lose 60% of Hawaii restaurants in the next 6 months is a really sobering statistic.
Yeah, definitely. And just hearing it from the ground as well. We've talked to chefs on this show before who have expressed just their own concern and the things that they're having to deal with now, of course, with the new added restrictions and regulations, temperature checks, signing people in. There is a lot being asked from these restaurant owners just to continue to serve their customers and stay afloat during this time. And so, having things like this restaurant card could potentially help and infuse a lot of money into the state and potentially help this very needed industry.
That's right. And then it was interesting to hear him talk about plans for the future, that the Restaurant Association is already working on trying to find some kind of rent relief. It sounds similar to the to the private, residential rent relief that is in place already, where the money goes directly to the landlord as opposed to through the tenant. But that the CARES money just simply, there's just not enough of it to go around for a program like that, but that they are trying to get it in place so that if and when Congress does release some more money, it can be turnkey and ready to go. Because as he said, there are some restaurants who have not been able to pay rent since March, which is a long time, especially on the landlord side.
Yeah, that's right. And we expect to get more information about the program that we talked about, that credit card program from the governor this afternoon at a press conference that actually Greg will be participating in as well. So we will stay tuned for more information and details about that program and any other information. We encourage you to stay connected to the Honolulu Star-Advertiser for more information. And we'll be right back here on Friday with a guest that a lot of people are looking forward to. I know that we are looking forward to this next guest coming up on Friday.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking to Pat Sullivan, who is the CEO and president of Oceanet. That is a local company here that's been working on a test they call Assure 19. That is a saliva test, a rapid test for coronavirus that is, right now looks like it would be if and when it comes to market, very inexpensive, around $20, and can turn around results, we're told, in just a matter, less than a half an hour. We'll get the exact timing and how it works on Friday, but that could be a game changer when it comes to restaurants, schools, travel, you name it. To have test results that quickly could really change things, and especially at that price point.
And, also an added industry for Hawaii's economy during this time, and could potentially add jobs as that has to get up and running and manufactured. So looking forward to that conversation. We'll be right back here, of course, with more guests next week, including the governor and lieutenant governor, to talk more about the state as they continue this reopening of Hawaii, which is happening tomorrow to Trans-Pacific travel. We know there's a lot of questions out there about the new opening system, what is allowed for each island. We'll dive deeper into that with the governor and the lieutenant governor next week, but encourage you also to take a look at the Star-Advertiser for an article on summarizing what was discussed yesterday in the governor's press conference. But until then, again, we want to thank our sponsors, the Office of Election, for providing this conversation, and thank all of you for participating and watching this show. We'll see you right back here on Friday at 10:30. Aloha.
Aloha.
For this year's general election, registered voters need to watch for their ballots arriving by mail in mid-October.
Following the instructions, seal your ballot in the envelope provided and be sure to sign the back.
Envelopes without your signature will not be accepted.
Look for your free elections guide in the newspaper or at these locations statewide.
There are no polling places.
So be sure to mail your ballot by October 27th. Hawaii votes by mail.